Alright, testing. Alright, testing. Okay, we are running. Public Law 109468, December 29, 2006, Pipeline Inspection, Protection, Enforcement, and Safety Act of 2006. Public Law 109468, 109th Congress and Act, the short title of this act, amendment the title, United States Code, table content, short title of the act may be cited as the Pipeline Inspection, Protection, and Enforcement, Safety Act 2006. Otherwise, in its place. Amendment title 49 United States Code, except otherwise provided where in the Act amendment the repeal expressed in terms of amendment to an repeal section other provisions reference shall be considered as made section other provisions of Title 49 U.S. Standard Code. Or your table of contents, section 1 short title of the Title 49 U.S. Standard Code, table of contents, section 2 pipeline safety damage prevention, section 3 public education, section 4 low stress, section 5 technical assistance, section 6 enforcement transparency, section 7 the direct line sales, section 8 petroleum transportation capacity adequacy studies, section 9 distribution management program rulemaking deadline, section 10 emergency waivers, section 11 restoration of operations, section 12 pipeline control room management, section 13 safety order, section 14 integrated program enforcement, section 15 incident reporting, section 16 senior executives ensure integrated integrity management program performance board, section 17 cost design review, section 18 authorization of section 18 19 standardization implementation national safety transportation safety board recommendations, section 20 accident reporting forms, section 21 leak detection technology studies, section 22 control regulations, section 23 inspector general report, section 24 technical assistance program, section 25 natural gas pipelines, section 26 erosion technology, section 2 pipeline safety damage prevention. On one call civil enforcement action prohibition 60114 is amended with the adding at the end of the following of the prohibition applicable the excavated the person with engaged with demolition excavation tunnel and construction may not engage demolition excavation tunnel construction activity in the state that has adopted one on-call notification system without first by using the system to establish the location of underground facilities in the demolition excavation tunneling construction area that may not engage with the demolition excavation tunneling construction activity disregarded location information marks established by pipeline facility operator pursuant to subsection P and who caused the damage of the pipeline facility made into your life and cause serious bodily harm or damage to property A may not fail to properly report the damage for the owner and operator of the facility. B, if the damage results escape the flammable, toxic, corrosive gas or liquid may not fail to properly report the appropriate authorities by calling 911 emergency telephone number. Prohibition applicable to underground pipeline facility owners and operator of the pipeline facility respond to the location request in order to prevent damage to the pipeline facility and who fails to take the response to the request and ensure the accurate location of the pipeline facility in order to prevent the damage of the pipeline facility shall be subject to civil action under 6102. Assessment of the civil penalty under 6122. Limitation Secretary that may not conduct enforcement proceeding within under section D with a violation when the boundary state with the authority to impose penalty described in 6134B7 against the person who violates state damage prevention laws unless the Secretary has determined the state enforcement protective safety consistent with this chapter until the Secretary issues the rulemaking proceeding of the procedure determining adequate state enforcement of the civil penalties. Our civil penalties section 6122 A1 is amended by the 6114B, inserting 6114B to 6114D. State damage prevention programs content of the certification 6105B4 is amended to read as follows: encourage promoting the establishment of a program designed to prevent the damage, demolition, excavation, tunneling, construction activity, pipeline facility, which the certification applied with the subject person who violates applicable requirements for that program to civil penalty or other enforcement action with the substantially the same and then provide with the under this chapter address for the elements for the 6134B in general this chapter 601 amended adding to the end of the following. Alright, 6134 state damage prevention programs in general. Secretary may enact the grant and state with authority include with the municipality respect to the interstate gas pipelines transportation system and to assist in improving the overall quality effective of the damage prevention program of the state of authority under subsection E of the state of authority. One has an impact of the annual certification under section 6105 or an agreement under 6106 and as an effective damage for the prevention program that meets the requirements of subsection B. B, demonstrate that it has been substantial progress toward the establishing such program that the such program will meet the requirements of subsection B. The damage prevention program elements of effective damage prevention program include the following elements: participation by operators, excavators, and stakeholders in developing implementation methods, establishing and maintaining effective communication between stakeholders for the receive the excavation notification until successful completion of the excavation is appropriate. The process of the fostering, ensuring the supporting the partnership stakeholder, including excavators, operators, located designers, local government, and all phases of the program, and in process reviewing the accuracy of the pipeline operators' internal performance measuring regarding person performing locating service the quality assurance program, participating by operators, excavators, and other stakeholders develop the implementation effective of the employee training program. Ensure the operators are the one call center, the enforcing agency excavator have the partner design implementing training for the employees of the operators, excavator, locators, the process of the fostering, ensuring the activity participating with all stakeholders, public education, damage prevention activities. 6. The process of resolving the dispute with the defines of the state of the authority roles of the partner facility of the resolve of the issue for the enforcement state damage of the law of the regulation. All aspects of the damage prevention process include the public education use of civil penalty from the violations of accessible by the appropriable state authority, a process fostering promoting the use of all appropriate stakeholders and improving technology may enhance communication underground pipeline locating capability, gathering and analyzing information about the accuracy, effectiveness, and of the locating program. 9. A process of review and analysis effectiveness. Each of the program element includes the meaning of the implementing and improvement identified of such program reviews. Factor to consider the making the grants under the section. Secretary shall take into consideration commitment of each of the state, ensuring effectiveness of the damage prevention program, and including legislative regulatory action taken by the state application. The state authority filed with the application of the grant under this section no later than September 30th of the calendar year. The governor chief executive of the state has designated the appropriate state authority to receive the grant of the secretary shall review the state of the damage prevention program, determine the effectiveness use of fund of the grant under the section. State authority may only be used to pay the cost of the personal equipment and activities of the state authority responsible to require the calendar year covered by the grant to develop and carry under the damage prevention program in accordance with the subsection B. Non-applicability limitation grant may under the section not subject to the section 6107A limitation of the maximum percentage of the funds to be paid by the secretary. Limitation on use of funds. The funds are provided by the carry out of the section may not be used to lobbying, indirect support, litigation, damage prevention process. Defined in section of the term damage prevention process means a process of incorporating the principles described in section 6114 B, D, and E. Clerical amendment of the analysis chapter 601 is amended adding any of the following. State pipeline safety grant 6107A that is amended that's tracking no more than 50% of the inserting no more than 80% maintenance of the after 6107 is amended the striking in space spent all filed with the inserting spent with the gas hazard liquid safety program for 3 fiscal years prior to the fiscal year of the secretary make the payment of the except for the secretary waive the requirement of damage prevention technology development. Section 6114 is amended the section A1 of the section further with amendment the adding and the ending of the following technology grant development grants. Secretary may make the grants to the organization and even if it include the nonprofit including for profit entities developing technology that will facilitate the prevention pipeline damage of the demolition, excavation, tunnel and control, and construction activity with the emphasis of the wireless global positioning technologies have the potential use and the connection with the notification system underground facility locating with the marking services. Funds provided under this subsection may not be used for lobbying direct support with litigation. Secretary may also support the technology development with the cooperative agreements and trade association, academic institution, or other organization. Section 3, public education awareness in general. Chapter 61 is amended adding the ending of the following. Public education awareness grant authority. Secretary shall make with the grant and appropriate entity with the promoting public education awareness with respect to the 811 national excavation damage prevention phone number. Authorization and appropriation authorized to appropriate secretary with $1 million for the beginning of the period of the October 1st, 2006, ending in the September 30th, 2008 to carry out this section. Clerical amendment analysis of chapter 61 is amended to adding and the ending of the following. Section 4, low stress pipeline. Section 6102K that is amended to read as follows. The low stress hazard of liquid pipelines minimum standards not later than December 31st, 2007. Secretary shall issue regulations subjecting low stress hazard of liquid pipelines the same standard of the regulation of other liquid hazard of liquid pipelines except for the provided in paragraph 3 implementation applicable standard regulatory requirements may be phased in. Regulations issued with the paragraph shall not apply with the gathering lines. Gathering general prohibition against the low internal stress with exemption except for the provided in the paragraph 3. Secretary may not provide the exemption with the requirements of the chapter for the head of liquid pipeline because the pipeline operates at low internal stress. Limited exemption. Secretary shall provide with a continuing force exemption with the subsection low stress hazard for liquid pipelines that A are subject to the safety regulation of the United States of the Coast Guard to B serve as refining manufacturer railing vessel terminal facilities if the pipeline has less than 1 mile long measured outside the facility ground that does not cause across the offshore area of the waterway currently used in commercial navigation. Until regulations issued in paragraph 1 will become effective. After the regulations become effective, the Secretary may retain and remove the exemption of the appropriate for relation to the other laws. Nothing in the subsection shall be construed to prohibit the otherwise effective the applicability of any of their statutory regulatory exemption for the hazardous liquid pipeline. Definition for the purpose of the subsection term below. Hazardous liquid pipeline means if the hazardous liquid pipeline operated with a stress level of 20% below specified minimum yield strength of the line pipe, effective date line, the requirements for the load. This subsection may not take the effect of the low stress as liquid pipeline operators perform effective date of the rules promulgated by the Secretary in this section. Section 5, Technical Assistance Grant of 6130 as amended to subsection A1, striking that the Secretary shall establish competitive and serving no grants may be awarded under section 6114G until the Secretary has established competitive in subsection A with the bank be redesignated with the 2 as in paragraph 4 with the subsection A, 3 as in subsection A by inserting in paragraph 1 of the following. Demonstrate for the grants for the least for 3 grants awarded within the section. Demonstrate for the grant for the purpose of demonstrating evaluating utility grant under this section. Each of the seven to demonstrate for the grant shall not exceed $25,000. Dissemination technical findings. Each of the recipient of the grant under the section shall ensure that the technical findings made possible the grant that are made available to relevant operators. Open communication between the grant recipient and the local operator, local communities, and the other interested parties encouraged by in subsection BD with in striking 2000 and starting 2010. Section 6, Enforcement Transparency. In general, 601 is amended in Section 2B with this act with a further amendment adding the end of the following 6135 of the enforcing transparency. In general, no later than December 31st, 2000, Secretary shall provide with a monthly update with a summary of the public all gas hazard liquid pipeline enforcement actions taken by the Secretary Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration from the time notice commencing an enforcement action issued within an enforcement action is filed. Will include in each summary identification of the operator involved with the enforcement activity type of the alleged violation penalty and penalties or penalties and proposed with any of the chain of the indicate for the status for the previous summary of the final assessment amount with each of the penalty reason for the reduction proposed penalty if appropriate. Provide mechanism why the pipeline operator name of the enforcement action make them for information of the explanations of the document believe the response of the enforcement action available to the public. Electronic availability. Each summary of the section should be made available to the public electrical means for the relationship with the Freedom of Information Act. Nothing in this section shall be construed required disclosure information over the record except for the disclosure in Section 552, Title 5, the clerical amendment analysis 601 is amended in Section 2B of this Act, further amended by adding the at the end. Section 7, the direct line sales 6101 is A101 amended. Striking paragraph 6 of it, inserting the following: intrastate gas pipeline facility, meaning for the gas pipeline facility, for the transport gas, and by subject to the jurisdiction of the Commission of the National Gas Act of Title 15 U.S. Standard Code 717 sequence, and by striking in the paragraph 9, inserting the following over the 9 intrastate gas pipeline facility, meaning the gas line pipeline facility transport with the gas subject to the jurisdiction of the Commission of the Natural Gas Act of Title 15 U.S. Standard Code 717-10 sequence. Section 8, Petroleum Transportation Capacity Regulatory Adequacy Study. In General 601 is amended with Section 2B in 6 of the Act with the further amendment adding the end of the following. Or 601-36 with the problem petroleum product transportation capacity study. In general, the Secretary of Transportation and Energy shall conduct the periodic analysis of the domestic transportation petroleum products for the pipeline. Such analysis should be identified by the area of the United States for the unplanned loss for the individual pipeline facility may cover the short of the pipeline petroleum product with the price of the disruption with the short of the pipeline capacity of the reliability concern that may have the anticipated the current true short of the petroleum product with the price for the disruption of the using and identifying with the size of the area. Secretary may determine that if the current level of the regulation sufficient for the minimum of the potential for the unplanned loss of the pipeline facility. Consolation in preparing an analysis for the Secretary may consult with the head of the government agencies, public and private sector experts of the pipeline, other forms of the petroleum product transportation, energy consumption, pipeline capacity, population, economic development. Prior to the Congress, no later than June 1st, 2008, the Secretary shall submit to the Committee with the Engineering and Energy Commerce for the Committee with the Transportation Infrastructure for the House of the Representative of the Committee with the Commerce for the Sign for the Transportation over the Committee over the Energy and Natural Resources over the same of the report setting forth for the recommendation to reduce the likelihood shortage of the pipe disruption referred to subsection A. Additional reports. Secretary shall be submit additional reports over the Congressional Committee referred to the subsection C with the same of the result of the subsequent analysis performed under subsection A and additional recommendations as appropriate. Petroleum product defined in section of the term petroleum product means oil of any kind in form of the gasoline, diesel fuel, aviation fuel, oil, kerosene, product obtained by the refining of the process of the crude oil, liquid petroleum gases, natural gas, liquid petroleum chemical, oil feedstock, condensating waste of the refuse mixture containing any withdrawals of the oil and any other liquid hydrocarbon compounds. Clerical amendment analysis of the chapter 601 as amended in section 2B and 6 of this act is further amended by adding the end of the following. 60136 Petroleum Product Transportation Capacity Study. Or Section 9, Distribution Integrity Management Program Rule Making Deadline. Section 60109 is amended by adding the following: with the Distribution Integrity Management Program minimum standard no later December 31st, 2000. The Secretary shall prescribe the minimum standard for the Integrity Management Program distribution pipeline. Additional authority of the Secretary in carrying out of the subsection Secretary may require operative of the distribution pipeline continually identify by the assess for the risk of the distribution line to remedy with the condition of the President of the potential threat within the line integrity of the monitoring program, effectiveness, success of flow valve, and general the minimum standards shall include the requirement of the operator natural gas distribution system and install the excessive flow valve on each single family resident surface line with a connected stuff. One, the surface line and then install it entirely replaced after June 1st, 2008. 2. The surface line operates continuously throughout the year with a pressure not less than 10 pounds per square inch gauge. 3. The surface line is not connected to the gas stream with respect to the operator, which the operator had with the prior experience with the for the presence of which could interfere with the operation of the excess flow valve. 4. The installation of the excess flow valve on the surface line is not likely to cause the line of loss of service of the residents or interfere with the necessary operation maintenance activities such as the purging liquids from the surface line. 5. An excess flow valve of the meeting of the performance standards developed under Section 6110 entitled Title 49 U.S. Standard Code Commercial available to the operator determined Secretary. B. Reports. The operator of the use of the natural gas distribution system report annually with the Secretary of the number of excess flow valves installed with the system under subparagraph A. 4. Applicability Secretary shall determine with the distribution pipeline subject to the minimum standards. 5. The development and implementation of each of the operator distribution pipeline Secretary determines with the subject with the minimum standards prescribed by the Secretary or in subsection shall develop and implement integrity with the management program in accordance with the standard saving clause. Subject section 60104C with the state of the authority have the current certification under section 60105 that may adopt the continuing enforce of additional integrity management requirements, including additional requirements of installation of excessive flow valve for the gas distribution pipelines within the boundaries of that state. Section 10, Emergency Waiver. The 61-118 is amended with the read as filed with the waiver to the Secretary, non-emergency waivers. In general, the application for the owner or operative of the pipeline facility Secretary by order with the waiver to comply with any of the part of the applicable standard of the prescribed under this chapter with respect to the facility on the terms of the Secretary to consider the appropriate with the Secretary determines if the waiver is inconsistent with the pipeline safety. Hearing the Secretary may act on the waiver under the paragraph only after the notice of operating of the hearing. Emergency waiver in general, the Secretary may be ordered with a waiver to comply with any part of the applicable standard prescribed under the chapter to determine the Secretary considers appropriate without prior notice and commitment with the Secretary determines that it is the public interest of the grant with the waiver. 2. The waiver is not inconsistent with the pipeline safety. 3. The waiver is necessary to address the actual impending emergencies involved in the pipeline transportation, including the emergency caused by the natural and man-made disaster. Period. A waiver. The waiver under this paragraph may be the issue of the period of not more than 60 days, but it may be renewed with the application of the Secretary only after the notice operating hearing on the waiver. The Secretary shall immediately revoke the waiver. The continuation of the waiver would not consistent with the goals and objectives of this chapter. Step 3. The statement of the reason Secretary shall state that in order to issue the subsection of the reason for the granting of the waiver. Or Section 11, the restoration operation 61-17 is amended with the adding and the ending of the following restoration of operations. General the Secretary may divide the decision to cooperate ahead of the Department Agency for the instrumentalities of the United States government and the public and private agency personal facility restoration pipeline operation have been and anticipated to become the disruptive they made a natural disaster. 2. Saving the clause. Nothing in this section alter with the amendment of the authority, responsibility, and the Department of the agencies and the instrumental United States government other than Department of Transportation. Section 12. Pipeline control management. Pipeline control room management. In general, 601 is amended with Section 2B within 6 and 8 of this act with further amendment the adding at the end of the following. 61-103-7, the pipeline control room management. In general, no later than June 1st, 2008, with the Secretary of the shall issue the regulation requirement of the operator of the gas that has for liquid pipeline developed and limited subject with the Secretary in the case of the operator of the intrastate pipeline located with the boundary of the state that has in effect with the annual certification under Section 60-05 that has and had appropriate state authority human factor management designed to reduce the risk associated with the human factor, including fatigue with each of the control center of the pipeline. Each plan must include among the measure reduce the size of the risk maximum limit of the hours service established by the operator of the individuals employed with the controller, say, of the control center over the pipeline. The review and approval of the plan, the secretary, other than the case of the operator of the intrastate pipeline located with the boundaries of the state, had effect of the annual certification 160-105 of the head of the appropriate state authority. So review with approval of each of the plans submitted by the secretary and the head of the state of authority on subsection A. The secretary head of the state and such authority may not approve of the plan whether it does not include the maximum of the hours service established by the operator pipeline individual supplied with the controlling of the control center pipeline. Enforcement of the plan with the secretary of the head of the property of the state authority to determine the operator plan that submitted by the secretary head of the authority on subsection A. Implementation of such plan that does not comply with the regulation issued under the section. Inadequate safe operation of the pipeline secretary the head of the authority may take the action consistent with the chapter of the enforcement requirements of such grant regulations. All right, compliance with the plan. Each operator with the gap of the head for liquid pipeline shall document the compliance with the plan submitted by the operator on subsection A with the reach for any of the deviation compliant within such plan. The secretary of the head of the appropriate state authority, in any case that may be reviewed, shall review the reasonableness any of such the deviation consideration whether the law taken in enforcement action with the discontinue the approval of the operator's plan under subsection B. Deviation reporting requirements of issuing regulation under subsection A, but the secretary to develop include with such regulation requirement the operator with the gas the head of liquid pipeline and reported deviation compliant with the plan submitted by the operator under subsection A. Clerical amendment in the life of the chapter 601 after the amendment in sections 2B, 6, and 8 of this act with the further amendment adding the end of the following. Or Section 13 Safety Order. The Section 6117 with the 1 is amendment of the read as filed with the safety orders in general no later than December 31st, 2007. Secretary shall issue the regulation provided with the notice of the opportunity of the hearing of the Secretary of the pipeline facility and with the condition of those over the pipeline. Integrity risk pipeline, a public safety property with the environment known the secretary may order the operative facility to take with the necessary corrective action with include the physical inspection, testing, repair, and appropriate action with the remedy with the conditions. Consideration make a determination on paragraph 1, secretary and relevant pursuant with the regulation on paragraph 1 and shall consider that there is A, consideration specified in paragraph 1 through 6 of the 60-112B with the likelihood of the condition with impair with the serviceability of the pipeline, C, the likelihood of the condition worsen over the time, and D, likelihood of the condition is present could develop other areas of the pipeline. Section 14, Integrity Program Management and Program Integrity Program Enforcement. Section 6109C9A3 is amendment that read filed with an inadequate program. The Secretary determined the risk analysis of the Integrity Management Program does not comply with the requirements of the subsection regulations issued with the described in paragraph 2 has not been adequately implemented with the adequate the operations of the pipeline facility. The Secretary may conduct the proceedings under this chapter. Section 15, Incident Reporting. No later than December 31st, 2007, the Secretary of Transportation shall review the incident reporting requirements for the operative of the natural gas pipeline, modify the reporting criteria appropriate to ensure the incident data gathered accurately reflect the incident trends over the time and take into consideration or recommendation for the comptroller of the Government Accounting Board Office Report 06946. All right, Section 16, your Senior Executive Signature Integrity Management Program Performance Report. Section 6109 is amended with the Section 9 of the Act. Further amended with the adding of the end of the following certification pipeline integrity management program performance. Secretary shall establish the procedure the requiring certification annual and semi-annual pipeline integrity management program performance approved by the senior executive officer over the officer of the company operating with the pipeline subject to the tap the procedure record with the signed statement that may affect the electronically accordance with the provision for the electronic signature of the Global National Commerce Act of Title 15 U.S. Standard Code 7001 a 10 sequence certifying that the signing officer has reviewed the report and the best such over the officer's knowledge and belief that the report is true and complete. Section 17, Cost Recovery and a Design Review. 6117 is amended with Section 11 of this Act, amended by adding in the end of the following cost recovery design reviews. And General Secretary conduct the facility design safety reviews in connection with the proposal construction and expanding operative liquid natural gas pipeline of the facility. Secretary required by the person requesting the staff of the review that associated with the staff costs for the relating to such reviews incurred by the Secretary in Section 6301D. The Secretary may accept the cost of the reasonable manner. Deposit for the Secretary shall deposit all the funds paid Secretary under the subsection of the Department of Treasury account 69 517202407 the successor account authorization appropriation funds deposited the presumed subsection are authorized appropriately for the purposes set forth in 6301D. All right, Section 18 authorization appropriation gas header liquid. Section 6125 is amendment with the refiled section gas header liquid in general the carry over the provision of the chapter related with the gas header liquid. Section 12 of the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act of 2000 Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 6101 Note Public Law 107 and 355 of the following amounts of the authorized the property of the Department of Transportation fee for the collect for the 6301 and each of the respective year official year of the 2061 and then you basically go from $60 million, $67 million, $72 million and $76 million in 2010. Trust fund amount for the addition with the amount for the authorized in paragraph of the following and amounts for the authorized for the oil spill liability trust fund. Care of the provision chapter related with the head of liquid section 12 of the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act of 2002. And then it goes 2007, 18, 2008, 19, 2009, 19 and a half, 2010, 20, confirming an amendment to section 6125 as amended, striking subsections B and C, and by resident subsection D and E with the subsection B and C with the respective emergency response grant 6125 as redesignated subsection B with the section is amended in paragraph 1 by adding with any of the following stem with the such grant with the train emergency response with the such train with the ensure with the emergency respond with the ability to protect the nearby person, property, and the environment from the effects of the accident incident involving gas or liquid pipelines in accordance with the existing regulations. Paragraph 2, by striking $6 million, inserting $10 million, and striking 2003 from 2006, and inserting 2007 and 2010. On-call notification program 6107 is an amendment to the section subsection A, strike with the fiscal year of 2003 to 2006, inserting fiscal year 2007 to 2010. And Subsection B, striking the fiscal year of 2003 to 2006, inserting fiscal year 2007 to 2007 to 2010. Our inspector staff and the secretary should ensure that the number of the position of pipeline inspection enforcement and personnel of the Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration does not fall below the 100 fiscal year of the 2011 and 111 fiscal year 2008, 123 fiscal year 2009, 135 of the year fiscal year 2010. Section 19, stand for the implementing National Transportation Safety Board recommendation no later than June 1st, 2008. The Secretary of Transportation shall issue the and implement the following the recommendation contained by the National Transportation Safety Board until supervisor control of data acquisition or SCADA liquid pipelines are adopted in November 2005. Implementation of American Petroleum Institute Recommendation 165 for the use of graphics on the supervisor control of the data acquisition screen implementation standard of the pipeline company to review the adequate alarm monitoring equipment, implementing standard of the pipeline control with the training with the inadequate simulator with the non-computerized simulation and the computer recognition of the abnormal pipeline operating condition, in particular leak events. Section 20 with the accident reporting form no later than December 3rd, 2007, with the Secretary of Transportation shall amend the accident reporting form, but they require the operator to gather the liquid pipeline with the provided data required in central control fatigue. Section 21 leak detection technology study no later than December 31st, 2000, Secretary of Transportation shall submit the Congress report with the leak detection system that utilize the operator has liquid pipeline, but the report shall include the discussion and act with the current leak detection system, including ability to detect eruption and small leak for the ongoing intermittent and what can be done faster. Develop better technologies as well as addressing existing technology inadequacy. Alright, Section 22 of the Corrosion Control Regulation review the Secretary of Transportation Constellation Technical Head of Liquid Pipeline Safety Stand for the Committee of the other appropriate entity that shall review the internal corrosion control regulations and set forth in Part H of the 195 Title 49 Code for the Regulation determine if the sub of the regulation are currently adequate to ensure the pipeline facility subject to the sub of the regulation will present with the head of public safety or the environment report no later than December 31st, 2007, and the Congress Secretary shall submit to the Congress reporting contained with the resolution of the review of the modifying the regulations to in the subsection A of the necessary appropriate. Section 23, Inspector General Report. Assessment no later than December 31st, 2000, but the Inspector General Report of the Department of Transportation conduct for the assessment action for the Department has to take for the implementing annex memorandum and understanding between the Secretary of Transportation and Secretary of Homeland Security dated September 28, 2004, relating to pipeline security that is specified duty of the Inspector General carrying without assessment. The Inspector General shall provide a status report with the implementation program and elements for the outline developed in annex, describe the roles and responsibility authority the Department of Transportation relating to the Pipeline Secretary, assess adequate and effectiveness and process of the Department of Transportation, communicate with the air and coordinate with the Department of Homeland Security on matters relating to the pipeline security, address the adequacy of security standards for the gas and oil pipelines coordination necessary for the Inspector General of the Department of Homeland Security. 5. Considering any of the other issues determined appropriate with the Inspector General of the Department of Transportation or the Secretary of Transportation. Assessment report of the periodic status updates. Assessment report no later than December 31st, 2007. The Inspector General of the Department of Transportation shall transmit the report result of the assessment together with the recommendation, including the legislative option of the Congress to consider the committees of the Transportation, Infrastructure, Energy, Commerce of the House, of the Representative of the Committee of the Commerce and Science, Transportation of the Senate. Periodic and staff the reports Inspector General shall determine and periodically communicate as referred to in the paragraph 1 necessary for the appropriate report of the matters of pertaining to the implementation Department of the Transportation. Any recommendation contained in the report transmitted pursuant to the paragraph 1. Your format. The report portion of the report with the subsection may be submitted to the classified format. The Inspector General determines if the such action necessary. Section 24. Technical Assistance Program in general, the Secretary of Transportation may, with the war with the competitive process of the grants of the university's expertise with the Pipeline Safety Secretary, they establish jointly a collaborative program to conduct with the Pipeline Safety Technical Assistance the program with the duty with the cooperation Pipeline Hazardous Material Safety Administration representative of the state of the board, public utility, the participation collaborative program established in subsection A shall be responsible for the development of workforce training for the technical assistance for the program that they have the statewide regional partnership to provide for the communication with the national, state, local safety information pipeline operators through distribution, technical resource for the training of the support concurrent with the future federal mandates. 3. Evaluation of program outcomes, and C. Training of educational material for the lab of the program and established under subsection A that may include the course of the recent development techniques and the procedures related to safety security of the pipeline security pipeline systems, incident risk management of such systems, integrity management of such systems, consequence modeling of such systems, and 5. Detecting encroachment boundaries of the right of the way of such systems, vulnerability assessment of such systems, both project and national level. The report, University, no later than March 31st, 2009, the university's awarded grants under subsection 8 submitted the secondary report to resolve the collaborative program. 2. The Secretary, no later than October 1st, 2009, the Secretary shall transmit the report submitted by the Secretary in paragraph 1 along with the finding of the recommendation legislative option for the Congress to consider for the Committee for the Transportation, Infrastructure, Energy, Commerce, for the House of the Representative of the Committee for the Commerce of the Science and Transportation, Senate, the authorization appropriation authorized to be approved in such sums as may necessary for the carry out the section over the end of the fiscal year 2007-2010. Section 25, the Natural Gas Pipeline Secretary of Transportation review for the Committee with the Comptroller report issued under Section 114D1 of the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act of 2002, 49 U.S. Standard Code 6109, and 116 Statute 3005, no later than 60 days after the date of the enactment transmit the Congress and the legislative the recommendation statement of the Secretary consider the necessary appropriate implementation conclusion for that reports. Section 26, Corrosion Technology, Section 12 of the Pipeline Safety Improvement Act of 2002, Title 49-60-101, Public Law 107-335. 355 is amendment in subsection C2 for the striking the corrosions in subsection C and striking and in the end of the paragraph N9 and the redesignating in paragraph 10 as in paragraph 11 by inserting the paragraph 9 of the following: the corrosion detection improving method of the best some practice for the technology identifying the detecting, preventing, managing internal and external corrosion, other safety risk, and D. Adding the end of the following result of the activity carried out in paragraph 10 shall be the participating agency support development and improvement of the national consensus standard by striking subsection F of the redesignating subsection G, H, and subsections F and G respectively, approved December 29, 2006. And that was your reading of your Public Law 109, Pipeline Inspection Protection Enforcement and Safety Act of 2006.